Okay, let's now say a few words about the Jupyter notebooks and the Jupyter environment. So it's all about JupyterLab, Jupyter Notebook, the integration with Anaconda or not, by the way, because there is no obligation to have an Anaconda distribution to have a Jupyter Notebook or JupyterLab tool, okay? But it is part of a distribution. It's a very powerful way to mix codes, text, equations. So to illustrate that, let's go back to pyPhysChem. Okay, this is the cloning counterpart, the cloned version of pyPhysChem on my own PC. And so I launched here the table of contents. Okay, so I am inside my web browser in full screen. This is why you don't see the main menu of the web browser. And so you can select and click the Jupyter notebook of the Python Physical Chemistry Lab PPCL in a nutshell, named PPCL in a nutshell, okay? And it starts like this. It first starts with this first cell that is a Python code, obviously. You can read it here. You see my a row. Okay, it's a code, a cell that contains code and Python code. This is a Python kernel that is activated. It is said here on the right. Okay, it said that we are inside the notebook. This is for the debugging purpose. So it's advanced use of a Jupyter notebook. And if you want to run this cell, this very first cell gives the visual identification of all these notebooks. And you can just click on the play button here, or you can put your cursor anywhere in the cell and run Shift Enter, and it runs the cell. Let me maybe start again. I'm going to clear the output of all cells. Okay, I'm going to run it again, and you can see it launches inside the notebook the banner of pyPhysChem, and you have a title, and you probably here recognize the Monty Python humoristic British group. Okay, so first, why Python? What is reminded here is that it's free, it's powerful. There are numerous libraries for data analysis, scientific computing, machine learning. It's object-oriented, and it's quite interesting, and it's a modern way to use language programming software. It's portable, it's quite easy to learn, it's quite easy to use as well and to understand. Not always, because there are some advanced ways to do programming in Python, but in general, it's quite easy to use and understand. And it is named after the Monty Python group. Why? Because the creator of Python, the Python programming language, Guido van Rossum, actually named it after the BBC comedy series Monty Python's Flying Circus. But although it's a quite simple programming language, this Python Computer Lab and this notebook as well assumes that you have a very basic knowledge of a programming language and of algorithm development. Okay, so if you don't have these basic prerequisites, please try to work for yourself on this topic and then come back. Otherwise, it will be quite easy to start with Python. So getting started with Jupyter Notebooks and JupyterLab. So JupyterLab, what is it intended for? It's a powerful, flexible interface that allows to create and to share documents that combine live codes, equations, visualizations, and text. So to get started, as I did here, you must open JupyterLab, and I did it by running previously the JupyterLab command in a terminal. Okay, this is explained in the first video. Okay, it's part of the first video, how to, and it's explained as well. If I go back to the README page this is the README page. Okay, inside the notebook, I must show the Markdown preview. This is the page. So this is explained here. Use these notebooks with JupyterLab. Okay, so we have to go down. Where is it? Okay, everything is explained here in the fourth section. Okay, use these notebooks with JupyterLab. So you must start from here. So this is what I did to see the table of contents and PPCL as well. So you must open JupyterLab following these guidelines here. I'm going to close the window. As I showed you, oh yes, there is on the left, it's very interesting, you have both you have both a file browser on the left. It's the folder icon, okay, that gives access to the file browser. So you see here all the content of the cloned pyPhysChem GitHub repository, okay. And here it's the table of content. This icon here, it's the table of content. It's the table of content of a given Jupyter document. Okay, and you will only see such table of content inside JupyterLab. There is another tool that is named Jupyter Book, if I remember well. So it's a more simple interface. And there are more advanced possibilities provided by JupyterLab. So I strongly recommend to run JupyterLab instead of the basic Jupyter notebook. Okay. So here again, I see the table of content of this document. And for example, here, if you want to know everything about interactive matplotlib plots, it's the 11th section. You just have to click here on 11. And we directly go to this subsection, okay? If I click twice on the text, so you see there is you see the blue part here saying that, giving you the, how could I say, the boundary of the code of the Markdown cell. So if I click twice, I can see what is the content of a cell. So it's a mixture of HTML, of the HTML language and of a specific Markdown language. You can mix both, okay? To see how this cell is interpreted by Jupyter, you can just click on the Run this cell button or do Shift Enter, okay? And then here, in this new cell, you have a Python code aiming at showing how to do interactive matplotlib plots. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so getting started with Jupyter. So as I said, to run a code, you can click anywhere inside, to run a code cell, you can click anywhere inside the code cell and press Shift Enter, or use the Run button in the toolbar. JupyterLab autosaves here, it autosaves frequently, but you can manually save by pressing Ctrl S or by clicking on the disk icon here. And some additional tips. Well, you can organize multiple notebooks. As you can see here, there are tabs, and you can open as many tabs as you want and as your system can support. Okay, so it's very easy to manage that. You can open, if you click here, you can ask for a new view for a notebook like this. Okay, so let's say that somewhere you are developing a code and later on you want to apply again this code and there is a problem or you don't understand at least how it works. So you can have two views of the same notebook, one view on the left here, one view on the right, with two different entry points. Okay, and you can close this one. It does not close the first one. You just close the view. What else? Some additional tips. If you are in trouble and it may happen if you develop your own Python code. If you are in trouble, so you see, let's simulate that. Okay, I'm going to open a cell here, and then let's try this. I equals 0 while a less than 1. Do nothing. Why? What could I do? Print I. Okay. So this is a stupid code because it will never get out from the while loop. Okay, because there is no nothing there that says that I could be incremented to get to become greater than 1. So if I run this, you see it prints a lot of zeros. There is a star here in front of a cell saying that it's working, and so you don't have any possibility to get out here unless you can delete the content of a cell. It won't delete what is done in memory. So what I have to do, what I can do actually to stop this ill behavior is to click on the interrupt the kernel button here, okay? And if it does not work, I can do a panic operation that consists in restarting the kernel here. And it says, okay, do you want to restart the kernel? All variables will be lost, and I'm saying restart, okay? And then it stops. And as you can see here, there is no star anymore in the left part of the window. Okay, so it's really stopped. But if I now, so I'm going to click here and to clear the cell output. There are thousands of lines here. Okay, and I will delete this line afterwards. But if I now print I, okay, it says name I is not defined, because it not only, by restarting the kernel here, I not only stopped the process, this ill-defined operation, but in the meantime, all variables have been deleted. The content of variables and the definition of variables have been deleted. Okay, so I'm going to delete these two cells now. Okay, so this is the kernel restarting here. You can add some extensions to JupyterLab, so you can play here with extensions. For example, an extension for IPython parallel or for other stuff. So I let you discover what could be interesting for you. And more or less that's all. What could I say as well? Yes, something else. Let's play a bit. I'm going to open, I can open a cell anywhere, a code cell. Let's say that I want to define very long variables. Okay, we'll tempted at the beginning to use very short variables. A equal 10, for example. Print A times 12. Okay. Let's say now that you want to define a second variables. Okay, but after a while, if all your variables are named with only a few number of letters, you won't remember what is the meaning of each variable and its content. So it will be better to use long names, okay, not short names, but long names for your variables. Let's say, for example, that I want to name variable hydrogen atom with a small caps and capital letters are different. Hydrogen atom wave function hydrogen atom ground state energy equal minus 13.6. Okay, and now I want to calculate the hydrogen atom ground state energy, let's say divided by 4 in order to have the energy of the first excited state. okay? And if you want to do that, and you can either do a copy-paste here of a variable, but it's not very convenient. And what is by far more convenient, you start typing the first letters of your variable, and then you press the tab button, and it gives you all the stuff, let's say, that is mounted by Jupyter, and they start with HY. So there is a notebook named hydrogen atom. There is a second notebook. It's the solution to the exercises. Okay, here it's the exercises actually. This is the solution to the exercises. And there is a hydrogen atom ground state energy. This is the one I want. I can use the rows of a keyboard. Okay, divided by 4. And voila. Okay, so this is quite convenient. Okay, so this is the JupyterLab environment. And again, if I may give you some advice, I think that for us, computational chemists, it starts to be interesting to develop notebooks as you, as experimentalists, have lab books, okay? Experimental lab books. So this could be a very interesting way to have a lab book, the Jupyter notebook, together with the folder that contains your Jupyter notebooks and other stuff. Okay, I think it's an interesting way nowadays to organize, for a computational chemist, to organize a lab book. It's not the only way, but it's pretty convenient and very powerful, very powerful. Okay, that's all for this video. See you.